Jesus explains the consequences of sin and how the gifts from heaven transform creation. March 15th, 2017. Words from Jesus through Sister Clare, spoken by Decay. Jesus began, I cannot bear to see sickness and death, yet this is the consequence of sin. Generations of sin and degeneration because of sin. You see, sin carries with it a wavelength that is highly destructive to created matter and souls. And so a world full of sin is continually bringing decay to this earth, which began as a perfect Eden, where there was no death. Adam and Eve had the choice, so to speak, but when they chose to believe Satan's lies against me, they signed over to his influence. He knew very well what he was doing when he tempted Eve to sin. He knew from experience and knowledge of me that rebellion is sin and sin brings death. He set her up so that she would bring her mate along with her, and they would be in his hands. As Scripture says, then when desire has conceived, it gives birth to sin, and sin, when it has been accomplished, brings forth death. James 1:15. But that is not the point here, beloved. The point is that I love these souls deeply, very deeply, and to see them suffering as they do brings grief to me as well. And one of the few things my brides can do to intervene and bring me comfort is through worship and thanksgiving. When you worship me, you bring me great comfort. Somewhere on this earth, I can sense a loving presence returning thanks to me, and oh, how comforting that truly is. It takes my mind off the pain and suffering and brings deep, abiding joy to your God. If only souls knew and could accept the reality of the pleasure they bring me, we would have many more worshippers on this earth. Part of your assignment, besides making music to bring souls to me, is also to make music to delight me and bring healing to my heart, wounded by the ingratitude and indifference of man. I wish for you to convince them of my need for their company and worship. Satan has done so much to downgrade souls. They are afraid to approach me because they are so steeped in their own ideas of how repulsive they must be to me. How can they dwell in a heart that they are convinced judges them as unworthy, disfigured, and unclean, and doesn't want them there? They cannot. They must be convinced. And you, my love, must also be convinced. Now, in the matter of the three souls suffering so very greatly right now, the souls that you know about, I'm with them, Clare. Where I am, there is peace, but there is also struggle. For the demons want to carry them down into despair without any hope of recovery or joy again in their lives. But my angels minister to these, and there is a holy novocaine that brings them through. Nevertheless, it is far from pleasant at certain moments, as you experienced with Ezekiel in the hospital. The gift you and others have been given is double-faceted. One facet generates love, worship, thanksgiving to my wounded heart from my creatures, especially those made in our image. But even the birds and the whales cry out in worship to me. The other facet generates my solidarity, my compassion, my unconditional love, my mercy, my delight and my affection for every creature I've made. In the center of this gem is my spirit flowing abundantly from the living waters of heaven for these purposes. So yes, in a way worship comes from me, as does any fruit of the Spirit generated in a soul. I am no respecter of persons. I generate these opportunities to all, but so very few respond properly and give them the time, attention, and protection they need to form their souls into a meaningful habit of godly living. But those who respond properly, they become my priests and ministers. They bring the light of truth to this earth through their relationship with me, and foremost in this team are the intercessors and teachers of the new covenant, the law of love, and the musicians who do more than I could explain to you for each soul, for the earth and its welfare, and for me. So this is a great honor, and all these gifts flow from heaven through my vessels unto honor, and transform creation. So, my beloved, take the time to sit by my side to sing, write songs, play for me and with me. For I delight in my Spirit's expressions of love through you. Do not allow the enemy to convince you otherwise, Clare, for his entire motive is to deprive me of the consolations of your love. Please see this clearly. Protect this gift and refuse guilt, for this time set aside to me. Defend this gift. I need this from you. My brides, you are my delight. Spend this time with me for no other reason than to relish my presence and bring me joy. Do not concern yourselves with sour notes or being off key. The key of love is always perfect. Love me as you have never loved me before, because this world brings me endless pain and suffering. So I need so much endless worship to heal these wounds, and as you worship, I overflow with graces to all my children for healing, and I use the vibration of your songs to bring down the walls of oppression and swathe my wounded ones in my love. Do not be convinced otherwise. Your gifts are so very important to me. They are a treasure and cannot be replaced by anyone. If only souls knew and could accept the reality of the pleasure they bring me, we would have many more worshippers on this earth.